All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Tech Social. I actually had a question for you all. Think about all the devices that you have connected to your network right now. How many do you think are actually secure? That is what we are going to discuss today. Securing your smart home, essentials IoT security tips with Rafael de Lima. He is a telecommunications engineer. And my name is Gabi. I'm always the host. I'm a business analyst here at Cogent. And we have Edgar with us, who is always our moderator. So thanks again for being here. I'm sorry I don't have my camera turned on today. Something is happening, but Edgar is here. So Edgar, over to you.
Thank you, Gabi. Yeah, so it's always great to see Rafael coming back for the show. Thank you, Rafael, for being here one more time. And now that cybersecurity is taking this much of precedence, right, in our daily lives, and we keep seeing more and more news, I'm really concerned about the fact that we have all of these devices, and I'm not sure if we are protecting them correctly, right? And what might be the consequences. So for that, Rafael, please tell us more about it and what are your recommendations so we can keep our things safe and our information safe from all of these cyber attacks that are happening currently.
Good morning, guys, and thank you, Gabi and Edgar, for having me once again here. It's really enjoyable to share this time with everyone here, and just share a little about cybersecurity. Regarding IoT, right? So the first.
Not sure if we're having some technical issues there with the connection. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, but I think Rafael's got connected or disconnected. I'm not sure what happened.
Right. Okay, no worries. Let's give him a minute to come back. And as I was saying, right, I believe we all have these devices, and most of the time, I think what happens is that you just connect them right out of the box, and then you forget about them. It's not like we are really thinking about any kind of security. And there are other concerns, I believe, that perhaps we should also think about, like the fact that has it happened to you guys that sometimes you are talking to someone about any particular topic, and for example, out of the blue, you start getting ads from that conversation that you got? I mean, it's like they are listening to you, and you don't really know where that information is going and what is happening, right? So I think that's pretty concerning. And I don't know. I mean, I think it's some of the basics, right, of privacy that you would expect at your own home. And I'm really eager to know more about what we can do about it. Particularly, I'm not sure if turning things off it's really an option, especially now that AI is coming, and for sure we will start having all of these interactions with these devices. And overall, I think that they will help us achieve new things and more things. But aside from that, still there's this big concern, right, about what we should do. Okay, I can see that Gabi is back, and now I can see her. Hey, Gabi.
Hey, I'm so sorry, everyone. Thanks for
No worries.
And actually, Rafael is back. It's a pretty different Tech Social today. We were having technical issues. Rafael lost power, like in Houston. So he's back on his phone. Thank you, Rafael, for joining from
I
your phone.
apologize, guys, about that. I don't know why something's happening, but yeah. So can I just
Sorry,
continue?
Rafael.
Or?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sure. Okay. So as I was saying, so basically, I just want to start like defining IoT devices very briefly, right? So IoT comes from Internet of Things, right? Which basically defines any device that we have connected to our network that has a limited computing power, right, and minimal user interface, and it is automated to do a task, right? So for example, we can say like if you have like a smart assistant like Alexa, right, or a smart lock at your house, or if you have those things that are to check on your baby, or any device that definitely connects to the network, right? And it has a function automated, and you don't really interface with it that much, so that's considered an IoT, right? That's an Internet of Things device. So basically, why IoT security matters, right? I think it's because these are devices that are commonly overlooked, right? People think that oh yeah, I just turn it on, connect to the internet, and nothing happens. Everything is good. It just works as it is, and it doesn't affect me anyhow, right? Well, that's not true, right? And normally that's why these devices have a common, breaches. And
I think we lost him.
Yep, it seems so. All right, let's see. Yeah, in the meantime, I'm seeing that Shiva is posting a question. Perhaps by the time he comes back, he's saying, I'm hoping to get your perspectives on Nmap, thing and Wireshark, other network scanning and cybersecurity tools used to secure networks. Thanks. All right. So I have some experience working with Wireshark, Shiva. It's not like it's my field, but whenever we are doing application development, sometimes we go into that area and we try to understand what is happening. So in my opinion, it's pretty interesting how you can see the networking happening in all the connections, and you can really get a nice track of the network flow and how the information is traveling and what's being shared. Of course, we will ask Rafael, he's the specialist. In my opinion, even though I'm not a security specialist, it's a nice tool, right? Rafael, we were talking about Wireshark because Shiva is asking us about some tools, and perhaps we can get your opinion on that as well. But if you will, let's focus on what we were talking about, the IoT part, and later we will come to this other particular topic, and then we can also discuss and see if there's any connection as well, right? Between the two of them.
Wireshark is a great tool, right, for monitoring your network, but I don't think it's something that every person, like a regular person, will be able to use and catch up to it like quickly, right? You need to be tech savvy and be network savvy to be able to effectively use a tool like Network Shark. Uh, as I was saying, right, so the privacy, so some of the risks are the privacy risk, right, data breaches and network weak points, right, so that's why it matters, right? So many IoT devices like cameras, microphones, and sensors, right, are normally compromised because they would like to either, if it is a microphone, right, to hear what you're saying, right, or basically to install malware, right? Or basically get malware that breaches your data, right? And provide them with data about your day-to-day communications, what you do, what you don't, uh, and basically network weak points as well, right? Uh, that allows them to relay their connection. So basically, what we can do to say, okay, to secure these devices, right? To say, okay, at least I'm doing the bare minimum, right? To know that these devices are deploying the right way in a secure way, and to have a peace of mind. So I'll say that the first three things that are the most important ones, right? It's every time you set up any of these devices, make sure you change your default password. So never leave the default password on the device. So there's a lot of people that buys these devices, they set them up, and they never change the default password. So I'll say that's the first step, right? The second step is keep the firmware up to date. So sometimes when you're setting up these devices, right, and you connect it to the network, right, the device pop up saying, "Hey, there is an update pending. Do you want to update the device?" And just because you want to set it up quick, you're like, "No, forget about it," right, and just keep going and don't install the update. So the updates often patches any vulnerabilities on these devices. So always just keep them updated, right? And the other thing is a separate network, right? And when I say a separate network, some people will be like, well, not everyone is tech savvy just to get in your router, right? Create a separate network and set a name and a different password and connect all the devices in a segregated network. But something that you can easily apply is like most of your routers, every time that you buy them and install them at your house, just out of the box, they have a feature where you can enable the guest network, right? So and you have your own network, the main one that normally comes pre-default, pre-set up. So what I would recommend is always use the guest network, right? Which is by default set up to be segregated from your default network, and so that way you can have all your IoT devices there, and don't connect like your computer or your phone to this guest network, right? Just use your setup home network for your computing devices and anything that you do day to day, and just make sure you keep the IoT devices like on the guest network. That will be another great thing to do, so you can keep everything separated and secure, right? Some other features that you can.
Rafa,
Yeah.
quick question here. Enabling the guest network and put all the devices there, but obviously with your password, because sometimes guest network, you might think it's open to everyone.
No, exactly. Yeah, you don't. That's a great question because yeah, obviously the fact that it's a guest network it doesn't mean that you want it open, right? Yeah, just setting up a secure password as well for the guest network. Yeah, it's recommended. Yeah, you don't want the just because it's your guest network, you don't want it secured at all either, right? But I would say it's a network where you're able to put stuff that you don't monitor day to day, and you don't share sensitive data there, right?
Okay, so on the guest network, what kind of devices should I put? And on my private network, what kind of devices can I have?
Okay, so on your private one, like anything like your computer, your phone, right? Uh, and obviously any other devices that interface with it, like a printer, right? But in something else that you have to think about when you use the IoT devices on a guest network, right? Is like, for instance, let's say that you have your TVs on the guest network, right? And sometimes you have these codes where allow you to sign into Netflix easily. Sign you in. Obviously, if you're in a different network than the guest one, it's not going to work, right? But that's something that you normally do with your phone, so you can switch to your guest network, right? Do it and switch back to the other one. And I would say, at least here in the United States, it's very normal that you have like unlimited data on your phones as well. So it's not something that you normally go ahead and have your phone always on Wi-Fi, right? So if that's the case, you can just switch to whatever Wi-Fi your IoT devices, so that way you can interface with it. But that's a great question. Yeah, the fact that it's in a guest network, right? It doesn't mean that it has to be unprotected at all. No, I mean obviously you care about that, but it at least it's a network where you know that you're not using any device that will potentially have sensitive data. Just think about this. Let's say that someone hacked into your Alexa somehow, right? and it's in the same network as your computer, your personal computer, and they're able to monitor every single thing that you do, right? So maybe you're accessing your bank account, and they can see your password and your login account, right, or your bank account number, and all that information that matters, right? But versus that, if you have these devices in a separate network and someone hack into it, then it's segregated in a different place, right? So they don't gonna be able to see anything that you're currently doing in your private network.
Got it.
Okay, so some other recommendations would be like disabling any unnecessary features, right? Like I can give you a good example. Is like if you ever use like a sound bar, right? Sometimes people like use these sound bars with HDMI, and they just connect to the TV, right? And sometimes you never use the Bluetooth feature for anything, right? So you could go ahead and disable the Bluetooth connection, right? Or if it has some kind of a feature that is wirelessly or that goes to the internet, like remote management, right? You can go ahead and disable remote management. But in this case, I don't think like a soundbar will apply to that. But there are different IoT devices, like I can tell you, like a game console, right, like an Xbox or a PlayStation 5, right? Those things have a remote access management, and if you don't use it, most of the time they're enabled by default, right? And that's a feature that can compromise your network, compromise your devices, and you don't need if you don't use it, right? So that will be another good tip. So these features in your devices, make sure if you don't use them, just disable them, right, if possible. And to answer to the Wireshark question, right? The monitor the device behavior is another good thing to do. But again, like this tip, I save it for the last one, because it'll be just for more tech savvy people, right? So and then basically when I say that, I ask to myself, okay, yeah, but how do you recognize, right, like if this device might be compromised or not, right? If I'm not a tech savvy person. So basically, if you have a way to see on your router just what are the devices that are consuming the most data, right? And you see a spike on the data on one of those devices that shouldn't have, so most likely it could be compromised, right? So something else, when you see if you can see like for instance, some devices have like a log that tells you who was the last person that signed into it or not, right? And if you see different logs from accounts that you don't recognize, then that's strange too, right? That doesn't make any sense. So what you could do in this case, just make sure to reset them to factory defaults, right? And set it up again. That'll be more than enough, at least to take care of anything that doesn't look right. And obviously, after doing so, make sure you update the firmware to the latest version, and set it back. And just set it back on the guest network or on any segregated network that you set up for it, right? But basically, I laid out the steps here. It will be like, if you suspect like something is wrong with it, right, it will be disconnected from the Wi-Fi is the first thing to do, right? Reset the device to factory defaults, update the firmware, check for any unauthorized access logs, right? You can report any issues to the manufacturer, but which I don't. I mean, depending on the manufacturer, right? If it's someone that is actually responsible, like Amazon, I'll say it might matter, right? They might help you, but depending on the devices that you have, they might don't even care. But that's a good thing, depending on what is the brand and how this brand manages it. But basically, those will be my recommendations in case you think something is acting, not normal. That'll be some good steps to go through.
Rafael, would you say that the newest that the device is, the more risk it has to be hacked? I mean, if I have a very old, I don't know, Google Mini, that I actually have one from 2016, I think, or 17, but I also have another one that I got last year. Does it make any difference? Is that a dummy question or like a real
No,
question?
it's actually a really good question, because think about this. Sometimes we have really old devices, right? I'll say it depends why. Because when the devices are really old, sometimes the companies don't support them anymore. And by don't supporting them, it means that they do not release any patches or updates for the device anymore, right? And that's why normally these really old devices are not secure. Because let's say they discover a vulnerability, right? And they say, well, the devices from this year and older, we're not patching them, right? Or they just don't support the patch, right? And the newer devices are the ones that we're going to patch, right? So normally the newer devices that support all the patches will be secure in the way that every time a vulnerability is found, the company will try to remediate it, right? And release a patch for it. But when I say it depends, well, sometimes when you just get a new product, like brand new thing that it's the first time that you see it in the market, actually it just getting that brand new thing sometimes could be risky because sometimes I don't think about some vulnerabilities that they discover when actually the device is out in the market and working, right? So that's why I say it depends, but yeah, it can go sideways in my opinion.
Got it. We have Kiran here. He's saying we should have separate router for IoT devices as they are more important and not on guest network as hacker can scan, your local router.
Well, a hacker can scan any network. You can even hide the networks. They're gonna scan it. It doesn't matter. The thing is, like when you're having the recommendation for the guest network is because it's something not everyone will have the ability, right, to create a network. If you know how to do it, obviously the recommendation would be like create a new one, right, and set it up with whatever settings you think will be the best for you in your case, right, and then name it however you like. But if you think that a hacker cannot scan the network just because it's not a guest one, that's not true. I mean, they can scan anything though. If you read a little about even devices like a Flipper Zero, it can even show you networks that are hidden and that are hidden like from computers. So.
All right. Is there any way we as users can protect ourselves from all these like new devices that collect and share our data?
Well, I'll say just by reading and getting informed before getting these new devices, right? Because sometimes we just go ahead and purchase the newest and greatest devices, and we don't even care about the terms and uses, right? Terms and use. And sometimes when you go through the terms and use, you actually are allowing them to share your information, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why these smartwatches are great for actually the company that developed them, because they can monitor every single thing that you do, and if you accept that, then I mean it's nothing you can do about it, right? You either accept it and use it, or you just don't use it. So I'll say it's depending on the terms of use for the device that you're purchasing though.
Right. We have another question from Shiva. While we appreciate IoT devices, security is shared responsibility. Is it not the heavy weights needs to be lifted by the providers?
Well, I agree. It's totally shared because even like think about this, you can make the most secure system, right? And we have the human factor as well, right? So it doesn't really matter how I always look at it like think about. I mean, there's many ways you could get into it or you could break into it, right? But
Think about what you froze in that moment.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, think about like a very secure building, right? There are always many ways that you can break into it, but the best way to keep it secure is just having a culture of you know having good practices in your devices or in your IT in general. I'll say that in my case, the best way to keep IT secure is just training the users and training the people that is using it to understand what are the best practices for it. Yeah.
Got it. Edgar, do you have any other questions?
I have a couple actually. One is we were mentioning that these devices can be hacked, right? But as a regular user, is there any way in which I can notice that my device is not working properly, or in the end that it has been hacked?
Yeah. As I said before, since an IoT device, Edgar, it's a very broad description, right? There's so many devices, but basically, you just need to notice behavior that is not normal, right? As I was saying, like if you check the application for your router and you see like a spike on the data that device is consuming, and depending on what it is, if that's not normal, then that's a red flag, right? Or if it's behaving the way it shouldn't. Like I can tell you something that happened to me a few years ago, right? I had an Alexa, and all the time it gave me the time and the weather for a place where I never lived on. So I didn't like that, right? Because I never configured for that, and I just reset it though. So I didn't have a way to confirm it was actually compromised. But it's better safe than sorry, right? So I went there, just reset it factory defaults, and make sure it was updated to the latest version, installed it back on the network, never did it again. You
Okay.
notice like behaviors on the device are not common. I would say, yeah, it's better double check.
Right, because I don't think
Okay.
a lot of people know how to even enter the router and see these spikes. So I
Yeah.
guess you need to like be aware of things like this, that what happened to you, like why am I getting, I don't know,
Exactly.
this weather.
Yeah, but as you say, Gary, the issue is that with IoT devices, it's not like when we were talking, like, let's say a laptop. All the laptops have like certain things like are the same device and somehow, right? An IoT device can be so many things that it's hard to say, oh yeah, just do this, and that'll tell you what's going on, right? But yeah, regarding the network the network connectivity, that's where you actually can check, which is not something that a regular user will know normally how to check, right? And that's why.
Okay. And how much help would a regular person need in case they wanted to get their network in their home network assessed against any kind of cybersecurity?
When you say how much what? Sorry, Edgar, I didn't hear the word.
Yeah. So how much support, I would say, or what would a service like that look like if, for example, I would like to secure my home, but I don't know how to do it. If I ask a professional, how would that look like?
Well, if you get to a cybersecurity consultant, right, they will definitely, need to go with you and figure out what would you like to do in general, right? And they can definitely, like assess the risk and give you an inform on what's the things that you can do to improve or the things that are not done right. Yeah.
Okay. And do you think this topic in particular is one of the most important topics that, as a regular person, I need to care about in terms of cybersecurity?
I would
Or
say,
what other things do you? Uh-huh.
yeah, I would say yes, just because of that, because we have a lot of these devices at home right now, everywhere, right? And most of the people, I'll say, don't care about it, right? They're like, they think it's like, oh yeah, it's connected, it's working, nothing's wrong with it. Yeah, that's why I believe it's really important to be aware of it. Yeah.
So Rafael,
Oh,
quick
that's
question.
useful.
You've been sharing like tips to keep our IoT devices secure, things that are like means no cost to us, right? But
Exactly.
would you say, like, if you have the means to do it, would you say is a priority that if you have like this house where everything is an IoT device, you have to invest in cybersecurity? Because some people, I guess most of the people relies on the devices, like the own devices security frameworks. But do you think, and how expensive it is to like get a cybersecurity consulting company, go to your house and check it, and
Exactly.
it's
That's gonna be really expensive.
probably
Yeah,
expensive.
yeah, it's gonna be really expensive. Obviously, you could do it. It's just gonna be really expensive, and I don't think it's gonna be worth it, right? That's why I'm saying, like, I think if you just go with the three main tips I gave you guys, should be good good enough, which basically is changing default password, try enabling MFA if possible, because not every device allow you to, but enable MFA if possible, right? Keep the firmware update and just separated network and disable the features that are not used. Those are really important. So that's why I focus on those tips, because it's something that anyone can do, and it's more than enough to keep you safe. So again, if you, let's say that if you have like a security cameras, right? And let's say you think that is compromised and you have a separated network, you can totally shut down the separated network and the cameras will be offline in 1 second, right? If that's the case on your private network, then you're going to shut down every single computer, every single device in your house. But that's why I'll say, like, in companies, the best practices, right, actually is to keep separated networks for separated systems. And you're like, if you have a security cameras, you have a network only for security cameras. If you have voice over IP, which is phones over IP, you have a separate network only for voice. But again, we're falling in the enterprise world, right? And the same thing again. Now, that's why I'm saying, like, I'll say the best way to keep it secure for a regular person, you know, that uses these devices and manage them day to day is that keep them updated. Make sure you don't use default password, MFA if possible, right? And if you can use a different network, or if you know how to create your own one, even better, right? That's all.
Right. Because, yeah, and I also agree, and Edgar also agrees with Shiva. He's saying it is too much of cognitive load and effort for non-technical consumers. Do
Yeah.
you see an opportunity in building mobile applications? I guess, like, to help us on this, do you recommend any existing apps? Are there any open source app?
I mean, the apps that I know that will do something like an assessment, I don't know any of, for real, like a free one or anything like that. I don't know any of those, but the one that you guys actually named, Wireshark, is great. But again, that's something where you have to have some knowledge about networking, right, to be able to use it effectively. So
Or
regarding
maybe,
something that can just,
sorry to jump in. This is Shiva. Maybe Fing will do, because these new, upcoming consumers who are in the age bracket of 22 to 45, right? Maybe they are more mobile savvy. Maybe if they are mobile devices, obviously most of them are. They use for integrating their IoT devices, obviously through their mobile apps. Maybe we could use Fing. So I would like you to shed some light on that. Sorry to interrupt. Thank you.
yeah, regarding the apps, well, again, there are a lot of mobile apps that can help you for XYZ specific scans, maybe, or issues you might be having here. But for real, there's nothing from the top of my head that I can tell you that it will scan that for all your IoTs and tell you what's wrong or not. No idea, for real. Not from the top of my head. It might be one though. I can definitely, check on that for you and get back to you if you would like. I'll be more than glad to do that for you though.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm just still a student of cybersecurity. That's it. All right. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
All right. Ed, do you have any other comment or questions?
I just want to say that definitely this subject, as we can see, it's really something that we all need to care about, and also really sparked, right, this curiosity. So just want to say thank you for that, Rafael. Your advice, as always, most welcome and also very useful. So right after we finish the call, I'll go and do some of my homework here. And yeah, thank you so much.
Whenever we bring Rafael, I'm always like that. Like, first time I went to my Gmail. Now I would like, because, like, as I was saying, as Shiva and even Kiran is saying, like, we want to make IoT devices secure, but we don't have a lot of knowledge. So these tips, I think they are great. As Rafael is saying, bringing a service like a consulting company on cybersecurity is super expensive. So I guess the least we could do is do these things that are like there for us to do. We just need maybe to even go on YouTube and check, like, how do I access my router? How do I change the password? And things like that we can always do. So thank you, Rafael. I'm closing this tech social, and I'm gonna do all these things as well, because I guess sometimes we don't even realize that we are exposed to all of these, and we are just super happy to have a device that we can talk to and it responds back and plays music and so on. So I guess these type of conversations are pretty important for tech savvies and for people that don't know much about technology. Shiva is again here. It raises curiosity, and thanks again for once making me to realize how important it is to secure IoT devices, as our reliance on these devices is ever increasing. Thank you. Thank you, Shiva.
You're very welcome, Shiva. And I promise you, I'll see what I can find about those applications. And I'll get back to you. I promise that.
So Shiva, a good thing that you would like to know is that we are normally having Rafael as a speaker, because we want to do this quick tips edition on cybersecurity tips. So this was one of them, but Rafael will probably come back next month. So you're more than welcome to be here, and we can solve this question for you.
Thank you. Every time I join these sessions, so it's always a pleasure, and I take something out of it. They are very valuable. Thank you.
Thank you, Shiva, for the support. Okay, so as I was saying, we are planning to do this quick tips edition more often. So Rafael, you're more than welcome to come back. And any closing comments?
No, I think we went over it, and you guys always have great questions though. So yeah, as I said before, we already have the main tips to keep those devices secure, and as we were talking before as well, it's just having the culture, right, of keeping the stuff the right way, like maintaining the things that in this case, the IoT device the right way. That's good enough for us to keep it at least secure enough.
Definitely. All right. Thank you so much, Rafael. I'll keep in touch with you for next event. Thank you, Edgar, for always moderating this and your great questions as well. And thank you everyone for joining us once again. We'll be back next Thursday with another session. Have a great one, and thank you again.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you, and thanks, Edgar. Good to see you again. Shiva from Melbourne.
All right. Yes. Thank you, Shiva.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Guys.
Thank you.